Hello, welcome everybody to Herding Squirrels, a podcast about modern teams. Joining us today is Val Akkapeddi. Welcome, Val.
Great to be here.
Great
Thanks,
to,
Brendan.
yeah, super excited to have you here. Val is currently the director of engineering at Collectors, leading high-performing engineering teams. They believe in building culture as the foundation of strong teams and enjoy being a hands-on contributor to driving an ambitious technical vision. Ooh, I love that. I love the ambitious, high-performing. That's what we're all about here at Herding Squirrels. For our first build, what I'd like you to do, Val, is build a model that tells a story of who you are outside of work. Yeah.
So I guess the interesting thing outside of tech, right? I've always been somebody that enjoys tilting at windmills. I don't know, like what draws me is doing stuff that hasn't really been done before, right? Or done before in the same way before, right? Whether it's expressed through, um, you know, what we'll call security research, right? Or playing video games, right? And trying to find the wrong way of doing things, right? One of the recent things I was really into is building game-breaking devices in Zelda. Right? Like playing the game as wrong as possible, trying to skip the shrines using the powers incorrectly. Um, I don't know. I like doing off-kilter things. I enjoy them, right? I enjoy gaming and hanging out with nerds. I've been running a Dungeons and Dragons game for my current game has been going for a little over 3 years with most of the original cast, and
That's amazing.
like just trying to do things that um, that don't feel boring or the same as like what uh, um, like what I could participate in indirectly, right? Like what can I do that's interesting and cool and kind of a little bit different.
Can you hold up your model again? I think it
Of
was a
course.
little, yeah.
Oh,
So the
yeah,
tilting,
yeah.
oh, okay. So yeah, can you like explain a little more about how that's pulling the story there? I love it because you get the thing on the
Yeah.
hand and like say a little bit more
Yeah,
about what's
this is our
happening.
lance, and there I am. And um, like I think I read Don Quixote in I don't know if you remember reading class in middle school we had these excerpts of stories, not really the full thing, right? So one of the chapters was a novelization of the a play, right? Um, like Cervantes' play Don Quixote. And that one scene where he's tilting at windmills, right? Like that kind of made an impression on me since then, right? Like since that early childhood moment. And um, my whole thing is like, try to do the difficult thing, try to do the fun thing, right? Chase the vision that you see, right? Regardless of whether everyone else sees it or not, because it's yours ultimately, right? Like it's your thing. It's what you, the only thing that's going to make you happy is something that comes from you, right? Like something that you see. And I feel like a lot of other people are like that too, right? And maybe they just need to see somebody doing it to understand that it's okay too. Like you don't have to try and win. You don't have to do the right. Like you don't have to chase a title. You don't have to chase um, some form of outcome. Find your windmill and chase it. And you know,
Love that. Find your windmill and
there's
chase
Don
it.
Quixote's lance.
I want you to think of what is the best team experience you've ever been a part of, and build a model that tells the story of why do you believe that team experience was so excellent. Like what were the causes? What were the underpinning pieces that held it together? Right. All right.
So
What's
yeah,
what's happening here, Val?
maybe if I can just get it over there.
There
There
we
we go.
go. Yeah.
Right on. So the absolute best team, like I love all my teams, right? Like I don't want anybody, if they find this, I love all of you equally.
Uh,
But one of the first major teams that I led, right? Like my first, real test as leader was our B team at Clear. And B team stands for Biometric Team, but also a little in joke. Um, the interesting thing about when we staffed out the team at Clear is that we had this ambitious idea of building out biometrics and monetizing it, right, and doing cool things with it. But at the time, and perhaps even now, right, it's not like there are a million biometrics companies with a lot of people that know what to do. So we played a little bit of a money ball. Like we found people that had very adjacent skills. Like one of my star engineers was somebody that came in without any hands-on experience as a developer, right? Like that had been mostly in project management side, but blew us away, right? Like during the interview process. So we were a quirky team, and I was, of course, new to being an official leader of a large team. And we were taking on these very ambitious projects. One of the coolest things that we did was basically rebuild our entire biometric backend in a month. This was a bet with our then CTO, and there was an incentive in it for all of us. And we took it as a game. Like this was fun for us. What was really interesting is much like the building of this model, right? Like we found ways where none of us had deep industry experience. None of us knew how these systems would be built, but we had different pieces, right? Like where of similar skill sets. And a lot of the formation of that team and what we did was really finding ways to lift each other up, like in ways that were perhaps a bit non-standard. There's of course the meetings, the code reviews, right? Like all the standard stuff, but sometimes what you really need is like, a little bit of that confidence boost, right? Like a little bit of that, that willingness to say that, hey, look, I'm going to take over this thing, right? Like you've been working on it. I'm going to stop working on what I'm working on and come sit at your desk instead, and we're going to work on this together. So the team kind of came together in a very organic, beautiful way, right? Like that allowed us to believe the same things, like be focused on achieving the same outcomes, and more importantly, being invested in each other's success. And we were a beautiful, unbalanced team, right? Like we kind of, um, we had a DevOps engineer in, right? Like, and we were like, what do we do with our own DevOps engineer? How do we build our own infrastructure? We didn't know, but this person knew, and that was enough to enable all of us to contribute. So what I really like about that team is that we were able to turn it into a conduit where each person is able to allow everyone else to contribute, right? And we built something really cool.
Nice. I love that. Explain for us, how does this come to life in the model that you built?
That's kind of right.
You don't
Like
have to
what I
pick it up. Yeah,
tried.
if you just want to point to
Yeah.
it.
What I tried to represent is we all had different skill sets, right? Like we had one person that was a very strong C++ programmer that was able to, work a bit more directly on the biometric side. We had people on the cloud and infra side that had very specific specializations. But what made the team really work, right? Like was, the culture that brought us together, that binding, and then the actions of specific people who uplifted others. The fear, right? Like if you can picture like you're coming in, you're working with something that you've never worked before, that you can't find on Stack Overflow, right? Like that you can't Google your way through. This was before AI, remember? And um, there's a lot that is said in our industry about those glue contributors, right? Like that hold the team together. That without them, I don't think we could have done this, right? Like this project that none of us had really worked with, right? So if the most valuable contribution on some nights was like, hey, I'm going to sit with you and we're going to figure this out together, and giving that person that confidence, and just being that backstop, right? Like for you can do this and we're going to get this done, right? Like, and we're going to get this done together. And there's somebody else that's there to work on this with you, right? Like that uplift, right? Like made this, um, band of misfits into, an incredible engineering powerhouse, right? Like we built a custom biometric system in a month, like that's not, and they, it was also a great bonding experience for us, right? Like it defined our uh, team culture. It built a lot of confidence, right? Like, we can do this hard thing. Other things are easy for us now. So, but that's something that I truly believe in. Like culture really is the thing that makes a team work, right? Like the technology that you use, right? The tools, the processes, all of those can evolve. Like you can sort those out. Culture and the team like being invested in each other's success and uplifting everybody's contributions. If you can get that story right, everything else falls into place.
Love it. I want to dig into something specific you mentioned. Actually, it's like a theme running across a few of the things you said. You mentioned quirky, unbalanced, band of misfits, unique, non-standard. What is it about having that picture of normalcy? And then there's sort of like this, like, but we're gonna do this our way. We're gonna do it like what about that is valuable, and what about that contributed to this level of confidence, this level of camaraderie that came together?
In general, if you're doing the same things as everyone else, you're going to get the same outcomes as everyone else, right? But you talk to people in the startup community, especially, they're not trying to do the same thing as everyone else, right? Like, because if they did that, if a startup worked like, I don't know, like a UPS or, like a Ford, right? Like, let's follow the playbook, they would not be very successful. They're attempting to have the same impact by doing the same things on a much lower scale. That doesn't produce the impact that you're looking for. So I think the whole idea of taking a different approach, if you want to do something, if you want to have a different outcome, you want to do something that hasn't been done before, or you want to do something in a way that it hasn't been done before, you want to have the same outcome as what somebody else did, but you want to come at it from a different view. The story that I like to tell people, right? Like Henry Ford once famously said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would say faster horses. And if you think about how insane the idea of a car is, right? I'm going to intentionally mix a highly flammable substance with air so that it'll explode. I'm going to put that explosion in a box, and then I'm going to sit on it. And then it's right? So I feel like a different approach is necessary in order to do things that haven't been done before, right? Like this is where innovation comes from. It's really valuable if channeled. I think the challenge is to make sure that it doesn't turn into chaos, right? Like here, we're building something. We're not just we're building something with an intention that's going to ultimately achieve outcome. I think there's a little bit of a challenge involved in that. But if you can bottle that, the power of novelty and quirkiness is incredible.
That the power of novelty and quirkiness. You triggered another quote, which I'm sure I'm gonna not do correctly, but I believe it was Einstein that had the we cannot solve problems with the same mind that created them or the same type of thinking that created them. You have to get into a different space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many good things. Val, I want to go into our next build because there's so much great information here. But I want to flip the script a little bit here, and I want you to think now. I want you to go the opposite direction, and I want you to think of the worst team experience you've been a part of, and build a model again that tells a story of what were like why was it a negative or unproductive or challenging experience? What were the contributing factors that led to that team experience?
Okay, so this was a team that I luckily joined pretty early in my career, and therefore I was able to use it as a learning experience. And it's really about, I won't name the company, about scaling, right? So um, when you have a small team, right, it'll stand up, right? Like, and you have a single leader, right? That leader wants to have a lot of control, wants to have a lot of visibility. The team will stand up because it's so small. Right. As the team starts to scale, it starts to get a little bit more unstable, right? That single leader is still bearing a lot of burden. Once you get to a certain scale, you can't do it, right? Like you cannot hold that, So team had started to scale, right? Like and add more people, right? Like, but this person was afraid of letting go, like because on the one hand, as the team scaled up and the accomplishments, the person that would be standing at the helm of this team was going to get the visibility. And I think the mindset shift hadn't really occurred that after a while as a leader, your team is judged, right? And you're judged on based on the output of your team, not based on the output of being a superstar on that team anymore. So this was something that I learned early on in that team as one of those ICs under this leader, watching them kind of build this team. They were brilliant, of course, but one of the reasons why the team sort of fell apart and why they were not able to be successful in their long-term career was that they still had that mindset of needing to control everything. And They were absolutely brilliant at it. But once the team got to a certain scale, that was no longer sustainable. So I think the learning for me there, right, like from that very early time, is that building a team can't just be about the output of that team, right, and doing the cool projects. You have to start thinking from a very early stage about at this scale, you're the leader. When your team grows past the scale, who's going to be the new you? Who's going to replace you? And that's also a word that I should have avoided, right? Like a leader is not going to be the new you, right? Like when you scale a team, you have to be comfortable with the team evolving, however, right? Like let it evolve as a glorious mess, right? Let the team find their own structure. Obviously, guide the growth of it, right? Like what you had built before. If you want to bring in somebody, they want to grow into a leader, they want to do things dramatically different from you, let them maintain the accountability and mentor and coach, but let go of control and stop trying to be the single point of control for everything. Stop trying to be the single point of visibility for everything, because that will not allow a team to scale, right? And ultimately it'll kind of fall apart on you, or you're the one that can't bear the load.
I love the phrase "let it evolve as a glorious mess." I think there's some beauty to that, and like a level of almost organized chaos, right? You kind of have to let things go and adjust a little bit. And it's almost I want to pull that back a little bit to what you were saying before about quirky, about not standard, right? About just letting things sort of figure its way out. And it seems, at least I feel in a lot of the challenges in leadership and what you read a lot about is this is a very common challenge. How do leaders start to release that control and let others, right, take up the space and let them evolve into their own glorious messes or whatever that might be, right? Because they have to get through that step to find their footing and their style. How would you recommend leaders find that path? Because it does seem to be a very common stepping point and a very common challenging point in leadership. I'd say across, I mean, industries for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That is this the most challenging. It's said in a very, very basic way, right? Like the traditional management books and stuff will tell you replace yourself so that you can get promoted, whatever, right? Like, or um, the one thing that I would say that's a little bit different than that, don't worry about the title, don't worry about promotions, right? Worry about the scale of what you're building, right? Like what you can build by yourself is less than the scale of what you can build together as a team, right? And I think part of it is there's no guidance, right? Like they talk about all these things and there are techniques, but in terms of um, how you actually go about executing this, I think is a very personal thing and right, like more of a mindset thing than following a playbook or a set of techniques, right? Like an understanding. Part of it, I think, is stepping back and again evolving or leaning into this mindset of being comfortable with chaos and not with control. If a leader is focused on the outcome that they eventually want to achieve, right? Like that, and honestly, that they're accountable for. Like this isn't just a fun job; it's still a job, and we have a job to do at the end of the day. Um, but focus on the outcome at the end of the that we're trying to achieve and not on every single minutia, right? And stop thinking about the how along the way. And I would say that's what allowed me to scale as a leader is don't be invested in people doing things the way that you would have done. You would want the freedom to solve the problem in your own way. So tell other people or show them the problem, let them figure it out, and let them tell you what the problem is that they should be solving, and let them take ownership of how they want to do it without necessarily looking at every single thing and be like, no, that's a mistake, right? Like let people make mistakes, right? Like that's the methodology of chaos, right? It's okay to be messy. Some of the biggest companies in the world still have outages all the time. No matter what you do, you can put in place all the processes you want. You're still going to have outages. It doesn't mean you uh, don't control anything, but don't try to control everything either, right? Focus on the outcome and the impact. Actively work towards creating that psychological safety rather than trying to prevent people from making mistakes. Build safety nets, let them make mistakes, and we'll still protect the business, we'll still protect the organization and other teams. Build those safety nets rather than limiting somebody's creativity, right? And somebody's approach to problem solving. Maybe work towards why can't they be creative? What's the risk? Is it a resource constraint, right? Like, is it, and what can I do about that, right? Like, who can I negotiate with and create a little bit of additional space for this person to be creative?
You mentioned the aspect about the team can do way more than any one individual. That's the essence of team. That's why we work in teams. But team dynamics have shifted quite a bit. I'd say in the past 5 years, especially, not only with right pandemic, the very large rise of remote work, tools, electronic tools that allow convenience, but maybe we lose a little bit of connection. In your experience, what is the most destructive or challenging team dynamic in the workplace right now?
I think like I love remote work. I love the ability to roll out of bed and hop into the office, right? I think there's a lot of positives about it, but you're right in that we do lose a little bit of that in-office culture, but here's the thing, you don't need the office to have the in-office culture. For the first and there are lots of people that work in offices where they don't know the names of the people in the cubicle next to them. That's the environment that we had at one point. So it's not necessarily the in-office, it's that creating a safe space for people to really have a relationship with each other as coworkers and as teammates, rather than my relationship is with the company. I log on, right? I complete a task that's handed and put in front of me, and in exchange, I'm given a paycheck, right? That relationship doesn't necessarily foster collaboration and working together. And it also, like in the guidance that the career guidance that we give to people, and honestly, a lot of what I see on LinkedIn is how to get promoted, how to capitalize and maximize the relationship between yourself and the company as a linear thing. I feel like I could build a model for this again. How do I make it so that I get to be the tallest tower? And all the discussions around career turn into what do I do to get to the next position? Where's the connection, right? Like, so this is the other person, this is you. This is the problem I think that we have in today's work culture is we don't do this, right? Like, how do I lift up another person, right? Like, let's say I have this capability. This is my coworker. How do I do this? How do I use my capabilities and my connections, my knowledge, my abilities um, to lift up my entire team? So I think that is a challenge. Remote does, I feel like the ways that we evolved towards that 2019 timeframe and that what we were doing, we were starting to get good at building that type of culture. And then things shifted because of, I was actually telling my friend from Clear this yesterday, actually, I met after a little while. We actually shut down the office for what was going to be a 2 week break. And then we never came back because it shifted and we had no idea, right, like of what was coming. So I think we have to develop new ways of working together and develop new ways of building culture. I don't think remote is as big a barrier to that as working against all of the other culture, right? Like where the entire like career growth process, everything is oriented around how do I build you into a bigger tower.
I love that you decided to just build into that question because you're like, I've got a visual for this. But it really showed how do I become the biggest tower? It creates it's a zero sum game, right? It's almost a I win, you lose versus how do we all win, right? How do we all get together and how do we create this culture where we're all at our best? And I, go back to your story before, like, how do you create that confidence and that uplifting challenge of like, right, hey, we're all in this mess together. Let's take care of each other, and then we're all going to walk out with not only higher performance, but we're actually going to enjoy it. It's going to be a much better time, right? There's so many great points. Val, you have time for one more quick build. Awesome, awesome. So this is the final build. I always like to do this as my favorite one, and I feel like you may have answered this a few times already, but this will be a slightly abbreviated version of imagine you've got a room of technical leaders that are up, they're embarking on their first leadership position, right? They're coming from an IC role and they're ready to be leaders. I'd like you to build a model of advice for this room of up and coming technical leaders.
So when you're an IC, you're here. Like you're expected to be the one with all the answers. People come to you, they expect you to be the expert, they expect you to know how to fix it, and you're going to make the decision and tell them what to do in that specific situation. This means that you bear the accountability and also the responsibility of specifically doing a thing. That means you have the control, like you're the expert, everyone's going to listen to you. They're going to do what you say. Paradoxically, many people think that being a leader is really about authority and using that to tell other people what to do. Turns out that's not really very valuable, to be completely honest, right? Like instead, to get the output of an entire team, let the team scale. Let them figure out how to stand up, like how to do things. You just connect, right? Like you still have the accountability for delivering the outcome, but don't try to prescribe and be in control of exactly how the outcome is going to be delivered, right? Allow the team to understand, and we can talk about OKRs, we can talk about like Andy Grove and about, all the techniques, but those don't matter. The mindset is what really matters. And then you'll find the techniques that work for you, but find a way to become the glue and bring others to the table to let their contributions shine, let their stability and their strength, let them bring that to the table and apply that to the problem. You just keep things, you know,
I love it. I love it. And the fact that you just flipped it upside down, it just gave such a reaction of like, yes, this makes sense. And find a way to become the glue. What a wonderful, wonderful quote. I love that. Val, I have to ask you, what was it like to build your thoughts and ideas out of Lego bricks?
it was a lot of fun to be honest. I remember in Fusion when we were doing tech lead training, right? Like we went to Toronto, it was great. We had the spaghetti challenge, and that's one thing that we were really where you build the tower out of the marshmallows and the spaghetti, right?
Yep.
Um, To be completely honest, I think we spent most of the time eating the marshmallows and trying to figure out what we could do with the spaghetti. The marshmallows are tasty. I feel like we were supposed to learn a lesson about leadership and org structures, but really what we used it as, what it turned into for us, is a way of bringing problems into the physical space, like taking abstract thoughts and turning them into something that I can touch and turn around. When I was little, I would play with clay, right? The Play Doh and, then when I got older, I was using the grown ups modeling clay, but it was very simple, or it was very similar in outcome because it allows you to take something that's abstract, that's hard to reason about, bring it in concrete, right? And also the power of pictures and visuals. At Clear, when we had the thing, there was a series of concentric circles, and I wrote the page on it. This is the physical page that we are all on when we say we're all on the same page. I've had good examples that things concrete will help you reason a lot more. This was a lot of fun.
I
And
love
Legos
it.
are fun. Let's see.
Right. It's a pretty fun medium for sure. Wonderful. Val, thank you so much for talking with us and playing with us today. If other people want to find you on the internet, do you have a blog or anything that you want to share with the folks out there?
Oh, unfortunately, I had to take down my Medium blog, but I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm sure, like, I'll be around somewhere.
You'll be back up and running. Awesome. Well, we'll put that in our show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Herding Squirrels, where we uncover the nuts and bolts of teams.
Thank you so much for having me.